Paul Thomas Anderson made a movie about revolutionary bombers fighting ice camps and white supremacist cabals. It's getting Oscar buzz. Critics are calling it a masterpiece, and Warner Bros. Doesn't care if it makes money. One Battle After Another is PTA's most accessible film in years. A propulsive action thriller about resistance that doubles as 2020's political commentary without ever seeing MAGA or Antifa. And somehow watching it feels urgent and timeless at once. Alright, welcome back. Today we're talking about One Battle After Another, Paul Thomas Anderson's adaptation, or really riff, on Thomas Pynchon's Vineland. I watched this twice and I'm still processing. It's 162 minutes of jittery momentum, a live wire that never stops sparking. Leonardo DiCaprio plays a revolutionary dad trying to protect his daughter from Sean Penn's psychosexual fascist colonel. It's the Battle of Algiers meets Running on Empty with PTA's signature weirdness, and it might be his most important film yet. Let's get into it. Here's what you need to know up front. The film opens mid-operation. A revolutionary group called French 75 is raiding a Mexico-US border facility. They're led by Perfidia Beverly Hills, played by Teyana Taylor, and her partner Bob Ferguson, played by DiCaprio. They have a daughter named Willa. The group gets systematically eliminated after a botched robbery. Perfidia turns state's evidence, then flees, cut to 16 years later. Bob is a single father, still loyal to the revolution, but mostly worried about his teenage daughter. And Sean Penn's Colonel Lockjaw. He's been obsessed with Perfidia for 16 years. He initiates raids that force Bob and Willa to run. The whole film is essentially one long chase. Now here's where it gets interesting. PTA ditches Pynchon's 80s setting and brings it to the present. The prologue begins around 2008 to 2009, right when Bush-era radicalism broke under Obama's hope and change. The main action takes place 16 years later, and Anderson's point is how little has changed. Kids were still in cages regardless of who was in the White House. It's a radical thesis embedded in entertainment. This isn't a polemic, it's an action thriller that hums and moves in ways movies rarely do anymore. Let's talk performances. Leonardo DiCaprio gives a carefully modulated performance as Bob. He's not a leader of the cause, he's just loyal to it, but he anchors this role in a father's love for his daughter. His scenes with Chase Infinity, who plays Willa, give the film its heart. Without that connection, none of this works. There's a running gag where he can't remember passwords to contact the revolutionary hotline. The person on the other end refuses to help because they're sticklers for protocol. He loses it. It's hilarious and humanizing. DiCaprio does his moron shtick, but with genuine desperation underneath. Sean Penn is doing the best work he's had in years. He's playing a George C. Scott riff. All flexed muscles and gritted teeth and growled lines, but he threads the needle between truth and caricature. Lockjaw is a ridiculous human being who wants the power men achieve when they destroy not just everything around them, but history itself. That's key. Without spoiling, the film becomes about erasure, about what we don't teach about Benjamin Franklin in history class because those in power don't want us to. There's an underground cabal of powerful white men fretting over racial purity, turning truth into mythology. Sound familiar? The ensemble is stacked. Teyana Taylor is magnetic as Perfidia. She finds Lockjaw during the opening raid and sexually humiliates him before walking him out. This encounter fries his brain, launching a psychosexual obsession. He's a racist monster who sees her as beneath him, but also wants her to dominate him. It's twisted and perfectly cast. Regina Hall plays Deandra, a former French 75 member who exfiltrates Willa from a high school dance when Lockjaw's forces close in. Benicio del Toro shows up as Sensei Sergio St. Carlos, running a mutual aid organization he laconically calls a Harriet Tubman situation. He helps Bob evade capture while Deandra tries to get Willa to safety. Everyone's committed to the heightened reality PTA has built. Michael Bauman, who shot Licorice Pizza, does unflashy work here. He uses motion to amplify tension. There are breathtaking shots. An early one of the border wall looks like a painting, but mostly they're trying to keep up with characters gliding in and out of safe places. It's functional cinematography in service of momentum. Some critics miss Robert Elswit, PTA's longtime DP, who he had a falling out with after Inherent Vice. Elswit framed Water in The Master in ways you can't forget. Bauman's work is solid, but not transcendent. Jonny Greenwood's score is bonkers. He constructs themes around sparsely played individual instruments. For a long stretch, it sounds like a single piano key being struck with occasional flurries, like a cat running along the ivories. It's remarkably effective, a score that sounds like an alarm going off somewhere. Not his best work. Phantom Thread and There Will Be Blood remain untouchable, but it amplifies the film's jittery energy perfectly. The film references the Battle of Algiers explicitly. Bob watches it mid-joint before getting a phone call warning him about the raid, and that's intentional. PTA is nodding to cinematic depictions of rebellion, to Weather Underground's true story, to the sins of the founding fathers. We've been fighting for a long time. The film's title isn't ironic, it's exhausted. Aren't you tired of fighting? But it's also defiant. Keep fighting anyway. One battle after another never feels like a lecture. It's rooted in character, grounded in action filmmaking language. PTA dropped out of film school when a professor told students to leave if they wanted to make movies like Terminator 2. He thought Cameron's sequel was awesome. This film feels like his resistance against pretension. It's deeply humanist. Anderson cares about these characters. Bob's frustration becomes ours. His concern for Willa is palpable. So many films of our moment feel angry or cynical. This one offers optimism. It's not one loss after another. It's one battle. Keep fighting. But here's where it gets complicated. Not everyone is convinced. Some critics see the surface level Pynchon, funny names, conspiracy elements, pop culture allusions, without the substance. The film is exceptionally long at 162 minutes. Attention is split across competing plots. It moves at Mach 5, then suddenly hits school zone limits. The final act shifts from comedy to a pseudo-iPhone commercial that feels out of sorts. And some wonder if this says anything Inherent Vice didn't already say better. There's a valid question here. If this were directed by Anderson Paul Thomas, a relative unknown, would critics still be raving? Or is the PTA brand doing heavy lifting? Is the film brilliant populist art or just very good when held against his masterpieces like The Master and There Will Be Blood? These questions don't have easy answers, but they're worth asking because this is a film that works viscerally even when it doesn't fully cohere intellectually. What's undeniable is the timeliness. Watching revolutionaries liberate detention centres while a fascist colonel erases history feels urgent in 2025. The Christmas Adventurers Club, the white supremacist secret society Lockjaw joins, does invasive background checks. He's hunting Bob and Willa to tie up loose ends. His affair with Perfidia, the child he might have unwittingly fathered. It's personal vendetta masquerading as duty, and PTA makes clear that this rot goes back generations. The film ties current ICE camps to founding fathers' sins. America has always been this. But the film never loses sight of the human cost. Willa is the only American high schooler without a cell phone because Bob's paranoid about surveillance. She's the pseudo-parent making sure Dad's home and sober. Their dynamic is strained, but rooted in love. When they're separated, the film's tension comes from needing them reunited. Not because the plot demands it, but because we've spent time with them. We believe Bob would do anything for his daughter. That emotional anchor makes the politics land. The action sequences are thrilling without being flashy. PTA constructs tension through geography and stakes, not spectacle. The climax on a California highway smells of antifreeze, rusty blood, and gunpowder. It's visceral, but it's also about convergence. All these disparate stories colliding in one place. Lockjaw hunting Bob, Deandra protecting Willa, Sergio mobilising his network, the French 75 hotline coordinating from afar. Everything tightens into one explosive moment. Should you watch it? If you're a PTA fan, obviously, this is him stretching in new directions, making his most accessible film while retaining his signature weirdness. If you're into political thrillers that actually have politics, this is essential. If you want propulsive action with humanist heart, this delivers. But if you need PTA at his most formally daring and emotionally devastating, this might not hit the same. It's very good. Whether it's great depends on what you value in his work. One battle after another is getting Oscar buzz, high Rotten Tomatoes scores, and Warner Brothers apparently doesn't care about box office. That studio support matters in an era where everything's a franchise play. WB backing a 162-minute political thriller about revolutionary bombers is radical. And that PTA made his most crowd-pleasing film without compromising his vision feels like its own form of resistance. The film's final message is simple: keep fighting. Not because you'll win, Not because one battle will end the war, but because the alternative is surrender. Anderson, adapting Pynchon in 2025 while nodding to the Battle of Algiers and Weather Underground, is making clear that resistance isn't new, it's constant, it's exhausting, but it's necessary. This is a film for a moment when conflict feels like daily duty, and whether it fully works or not, it's saying something that needs to be said. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.